Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Afi and I'm back again with another video. So this is like get ready with me. I'm so excited because I feel like I've finally figured out something that is going to work for me with like my channel and things like that. If you've watched the last few videos, it's been very confusing. Honestly speaking, like I've also been a little bit confused about like the way forward, like where am I going, what am I going to do, things like that. Just like trying to stay in my purpose, but then also feeling like I'm not supposed to do that. I don't know, it's been strange. So anyway, if you're new here, my name is Afi. I do a lot of faith-based content, university life content, live content. I'm starting to vlog, which is something I'm so extremely excited about, but don't feel inclined to watch the vlogs, honestly. Like that's just for me and my own life. Like I just want to be able to document my life, and so vlogging is just the way that I'm going to do it. So don't be inclined to watch those, but the ones that I'm really trying to put out the most is the ones that are more faith-based, more like guidance and things that I'm learning, that things that God is teaching me and things like that. So that's more what I'm trying to push here. Yeah, so this week's video is basically about the 7 pillars of wisdom, and I feel like I have basically said in the past that I don't think that I'm in a place where I feel like I can give advice or anything of that sort, but I do feel like because I'm doing Bible plans and things like that, there's such good content that I am getting from different places, from listening to someone's, from watching videos, from doing the Bible plans and things like that, and I don't want to keep that knowledge all to myself, because I think the purpose and like what God is really trying to do with me is like sharing his word and things like that. So I kind of don't want to keep that to myself. So that's why I am going to be doing this. I'm really excited, and let's get into the video. So just in case you're new here and you don't know what I do, I basically do like get ready. This is actually, I think, what I'm going to adapt my content to be, just like get ready with me chat type stuff, just because I think it's much easier for me. I like to have the makeup to kind of like distract me from feeling so like anxious and things like that. So I guess this is the thing that's going to stick basically. But I do like to like chat and talk about things that God is genuinely teaching me and things like that. Also, the kind of makeup I do is really not professional makeup. I think I've just done a video that I'm like, I genuinely, like I'm watching my video, I'm like, I kind of don't know what I'm doing, but I want to sort of like help people just like get by, you know, like we all want to look nice still, and we're not all like looking professional or anything like that. So I guess that is the point here, just trying to look nice even though we're not professionals. So as I said earlier, the topic is the 7 pillars of wisdom, and this is from, I think it was the Bible plan in 1 year. Yeah, one of that. And they start by actually saying like the reason why it's 7 is because in the Bible 7 is used as a number to represent completion. So that's the reason why this particular like Bible plan basically says 7 pillars of wisdom. All right, so the first one is handling criticism. So this is basically like things that you should do to act in wisdom, basically. You know, wisdom comes from God, knowledge comes from man type thing. So the first thing is, when you're handling criticism, reply to the wise. And something that the author actually talks about a lot here is like, there's people who will give you criticism and they are literally just like foolish people trying to say bad things and things like that. And this is not even like to be mean or to be rude or to say that like other people's thoughts are not valid or anything like that, but sometimes you can tell the kind of like advice that you're getting from different people. Like there's people you listen to, and then there's people that you just don't give them the audience, just because if you're arguing with a foolish person, you will stay there and you will be the one who is wasting your time because they have nothing else to like learn or whatever. I think I saw a verse actually that says like only, and maybe this was in this Bible plan, but the verse was basically something to do with like the foolish never take advice, the wise are the ones who take advice, things like that. The foolish will keep you in this cycle of just like having an argument. Like sometimes, think about it in your life, like you will be arguing with somebody, and there's some people who just want to argue, like they don't want, like they're not trying to make you better, they're not trying to make your life better, like they just want to keep arguing. And sometimes it's fun, right? Sometimes it is a lot of fun, but when it's something serious, like honestly, just don't give them the audience, kind of just like let it go and just leave it like that. So yeah, the first thing is reply to the wise. So if you find like a wise person giving like, and when it comes to wisdom, a lot of times wisdom is equated to age, but it's not always like the true case. Sometimes there's older people that are giving you advice and it's really not like constructive. And so just remember, reply to the wise. Those are the people who are going to help guide you, compared to the people who just want to, first of all, be haters. Some other people just want to keep you in like terrible cycles. Some people are afraid of losing you, so when you're doing things that are not what they would prescribe, they kind of give you like advice and it's like maybe not. So just think about like, and this is the importance of like praying and things like that, because then God does give you like discernment, so you can discern who is giving you advice from wisdom and then who is not giving you from wisdom. Because at the end of the day, like a lot of people will give advice based on their own opinion, based on their own experience, based on their own life, and sometimes it's not for you. Like they truly believe that it's for your benefit, but it's not, you know. So you have to be like very, very like careful about that. And the second part about handling criticism is make sure that when you are giving criticism, that you are constructive when giving it. So again, this goes back to that idea of like, when you're also giving criticism, right? Like the first point is reply to the wise. Make sure that when you are giving criticism, that you are the wise. So that the criticism that you're giving or the opinions that you're trying to give, they should be constructive in a way that they are helping the person become better, and not in a way that like you're trying to bring this person down or trying to prove that you're better or anything like that. So think about it like that. Then the third part is be gracious when receiving criticism. Like make sure that when you are getting criticism, I feel like this is something that I'm not very good at, no lies, but I think like it's something I really want to learn. Like be gracious when like receiving it. When someone is giving you constructive criticism, be like, thank you very much, like I appreciate your opinions and things like that. Make sure to like, because sometimes when someone gives you criticism, your first thing is to be defensive. So make sure to just like take a step back and not be defensive. Just be like, okay, fine, like how can I genuinely look through my emotions and my feelings and see through the wisdom that's coming in, you know. So yeah, that's the first part, handling criticism. Second thing is responding to suffering. And I feel like I've talked about this before, like me, I don't like suffering, I don't like going through hardship. I don't know if anyone actually enjoys it, but I think there are some people who romanticize this idea of going through hardship and suffering, and like that's what you're supposed to be aiming for. I do not ascribe to that school of thought. But with that said, something that was mentioned here is, first of all, there's no link between suffering and sin. And this was basically, I think, based on a verse from Jesus. I think Jesus had been asked, and I say I think because I don't have the Bible up here with me, but Jesus had been asked basically like, why are these people suffering so badly? Like, does it mean that their sin is much worse than like other people's sin and stuff like that? And I guess Jesus' response basically alluded to the fact that like sin is not directly corresponding to suffering. And I think like when you grow up having faith, or like in a family that is like faith based and things like that, sometimes you actually are given that idea of like, when you sin then you will suffer or something like that. And actually, speaking from my own personal life, something that happened this past weekend that I think I'm just going to share, not because I'm trying to shade anyone or anything like that, but I want to share it because it really coincides so perfectly with this, is that on Saturday I was going for the VC's run, and I've talked about this in another vlog, you'll see it, blah blah blah. Anyway, I was going for the VC's run, and I was basically asked like the night before, like, do you want to give the prayer during the Hundoke? And I was like, no, I don't think I would want to. I actually told my mom I don't think I want to commit to that when I need to be leaving the house early and things like that. I think it's going to be a little bit too chaotic, so let me just like leave that. And of course, in the back of my mind, I was like, I feel so bad that I've refused to give this opening prayer, blah blah blah, things like just being hard on myself and stuff like that. And so I go for the VC's run and everything is fine, blah, blah, blah. Then at the end of it, I realized that I lost my national ID. And I remember actually like in my head being like, maybe it's because you refused to pray in the morning, like you refused to be the one giving the opening prayer and stuff like, and really kicking myself and saying that like the reason why I lost my ID is because of that. I don't know if that's a reason, but like, honestly speaking, I really did kick myself the entire weekend and tell myself that like, you see, you refused and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, these things happen. Like people lose IDs all the time. Like I could have lost it whether I did pray or I didn't or whatever, and I don't know how it could have ended up. But the fact that in my head it's sort of like ingrained, if I do something that is not what I wanted to do, then something bad will happen. And that's sort of how I grew up, like thinking in my head, like if I don't tell my parents where I'm going, I will end up in an accident, they won't be able to find me, and I'll be dead, kind of thing. And I know that's like a whole spiral, but that's basically how I sort of grew up. And this is not because like, this is not like blaming people and stuff like that. It's just more like the mindset that we fall into. And I'm here to be like, sometimes that's not it. Like your sin or whatever you like perceive as sin may not be directly related to the kind of suffering that you're going through, basically. Yeah. The second part is sometimes suffering is not necessarily punishment. And yeah, I guess that's something else to say, because it's like now here with my ID, it's like I've lost my ID. I'm so frustrated. And as much as like I was really kicking myself, honestly, I cried the whole of Saturday. And it wasn't about the ID, to be honest. The crying was not about the ID. The crying was more of like an accumulation of stuff. And I think me losing my ID and me having that trigger really helped me sort of like check myself and be like, seriously, Afi, you're not doing well. Like your mental is struggling and you're not taking care of yourself, and you need to take a lot more time to take care of yourself because you are struggling and you're refusing, first of all, to open up to people. Like I was really genuinely refusing to talk about it. I was refusing to act like anything was wrong. Like I was out here really pretending that I was okay when I genuinely was not, you know. So in that sense, I feel like that thing of me losing my ID, which was seen as like suffering, right, is not necessarily a punishment to me. If anything, it really brought a lot of things to the light, which at the end of the day I should be grateful about, you know. And then the third thing is I can't remember why, but I wrote unless you repent. And I guess maybe it's the idea of like, oh yeah, when Jesus was being asked about the thing, he basically said like, you need to, so the things that he said alluded to like sin is not linked to suffering, but he also said unless you repent you might end up like those people who are suffering. So that's basically like the message that he said, like make sure you're repenting. And I think something I really want to talk about when it comes to repenting is a lot of people have this idea of like, when you repent then you can go back, do the sin, come back, repent, and then you'll keep being forgiven. I think genuinely God is gracious, God is loving, God will do that, but at the end of the day, something that Jesus said consistently is like, your sin is forgiven, go change your ways, things like that. Like when you do repent, make sure that you have the intention to change your ways, you know. Like don't be repenting out here as like getting free cash cow type thing. Like make sure that you genuinely intend to change your ways. Yeah, so that's for responding to suffering. Now the third thing is pruning and planting. And here the first point is look for fruits. And this is about like when you are like doing stuff, look for the fruits of what you're doing. So for me specifically, when I talk about like my YouTube channel, my fruits are when people tell me that I really like your content, like I really appreciate what you did in this video, or I like this, or whatever it is. Those are the fruits that I'm looking for. So a lot of times I will, and because I'm so small, because nobody knows me, whatever it is, there's going to be very few fruits, but I genuinely appreciate those fruits, because that really like reaffirms that it's like, even if it's not like a lot of people watching, which I don't think my goal is to get to like 1 million subscribers or anything like that, because at the end of the day, as I said, my intention here is to make sure that people who are struggling with faith will be able to see that even though you're struggling, you can still have faith, you know. Like just being that kind of light is my intention. And so the fruits that I'm looking for is that, like, am I actually impacting anybody? And let me tell you something, my mother is like my biggest fan. I'm not gonna lie, she's always like writing comments. I hear her watching my videos and things like that. She literally is my biggest fan, and I'm so grateful. It's really nice, honestly, because I feel like sometimes I say things on my YouTube channel that I'm not able to say in person, which I think is something that I really need to like start shifting in my life, because it's not really that I'm looking for outside validation of any sort, but it's just that maybe I just find it easier to speak to a camera. I don't know what it is, but I think for me, genuinely just like appreciating that people really do appreciate my content. I think about 3 weeks ago, I was walking with my mom and I met someone. She was like, hi, I really like what you're doing on your YouTube. And I was like, thank you so much. Like, I genuinely appreciate that. And so when I was going through the time when I was like, I don't know if I'm going to do faith-based content anymore, like I'm so confused, things like that, I was really feeling bad, because I felt like I'm not doing what my the purpose of this channel was to do such videos, to guide people, to help people, to just be a person here, like talking about faith, you know, because it's something that I really, really like. And so, hey, I've really gone on a tangent, but that's the idea of like looking for fruits. Like, look for the fruits of your labor. Like, what is the outcome? Like, how is this thing that you're doing impacting other people? I think it's a really good perspective, because a lot of times we live in this world where we are creating this environment where it's like, I'm not going to do something unless it's benefiting me. But it's like, how are you benefiting anybody else with the things that you're doing? Like, what are you doing to benefit anyone? You know, like, that's something we really need to think about a lot more. And the second point about pruning and planting is patience for growth. And that's something that I genuinely have to like learn, just patience, like just learning patience for anything. I'm so impatient all the time, but I am learning to be patient. And there's a couple of things in my life that I'm really genuinely, I think my patience has like really grown, and I'm so excited about it. But yeah, patience for growth, that's something you need to think about when it comes to pruning and planting. Not everything is going to happen instantaneously. Like, the thing is that when I started my YouTube channel, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to give myself 5 years and see if I'm going to grow in 5 years. And if I am going to grow in 5 years, then I'll continue. But if not, then I'm out. But then I've gotten to a year of it and I'm already frustrated. I'm like, this is not happening. It's not growing, blah, blah. But it's like, no, I'm actually doing something. Like, now I have a lot more consistent views than I did before and things like that. And so I am also learning patience when it comes to growth. And that's in the sense of like also personality wise. And as I've mentioned in a couple of other videos, like, I think I'm really shifting. The person that I am is changing. The things that I enjoy are changing and things like that. And because of that, I'm getting a little bit like, I want to get to the other side, because it's like growing pains. You go through so much in between to get to the other side, and I'm kind of like, I just want to be on the other side. But I need to just like understand like patience, appreciate the process, right? Like, make memories in the process, because that's just what you need to do, you know? Okay, so the fourth thing is knowing when to confront. And here they talk about compassion, right? So how should you be confronting people with compassion? I guess that's something that we also need to learn a lot in our lives these days, because what we do is, I feel like we lack compassion so much. Like, we're out here being very intolerant of people. Like, we are creating a culture that is so intolerant, it actually is a little bit disgusting how it's intolerant. Like, we're out here saying like you have to agree with me or I can't be in your space. And I think it's one thing to like protect your energy and things like that, but it's a completely other thing to be intolerant of people. And I was seeing a post yesterday that was basically saying like, we can love people who do not agree with us on like vaccine, on like their opinion on the vaccine and things like that. Like, we can love people that don't necessarily like agree with us, but we kind of have created a culture where we don't know how to love people unless they agree with us 100%, you know. And that's not a very good culture to live in, because I think, and I talk about this a lot, like the idea of liberalism. I love liberalism, like, not gonna lie, probably my favorite thing. But I think the flaw of liberalism is that it really like has created this environment where you are forcing everybody to think exactly the same, right? And it's like, I understand that some things are considered human rights or whatever it is, honestly speaking. I just think, like, for example, if I speak about something as controversial as FGM here in Kenya, we are so big at like being like, this is, you know, it's a human rights issue, it's not good for like the girls, whatever it is. And of course, I'm not advocating for it or anything like that. But something that I think we learn a lot whenever we learn like unity to development is about like getting into the community and hearing their perspective. And like, what is most important when it comes to development and changing a society is educating the people on the importance of that, right? So when it comes, and I want to tie this point to like legalism and things like that, when it comes to a situation about like FGM, for example, where it's like the government has actually put a law where FGM is illegal, like it's not supposed to be happening, it is illegal. Anyone that is found taking part in it shall be arrested or whatever it is, right? And when you do something like that, but the people of the community don't understand why you do something like that, then you've just made this community like separate from your law. At the end of the day, now they don't want to follow you because they're like, these people don't understand our culture, right? Did we take a moment to understand their culture? Like, why do they think that this is the most important thing? At the end of the day, a lot of arguments against FGM is that the point of it usually is like keeping this girl pure for the man, and it's the whole misogyny. I'm looking for a specific term. It's a whole patriarchy thing, right? Like, that's a lot of the times when you hear people like arguing against it, it's like it's because of the patriarchy that this came up, and so blah blah blah, things like that. But when you find societies where women are the ones advocating for it, I think it really just like puts you in the place where you need to ask yourself, like, why is this woman thinking that this thing is so important? And at the end of the day, it's not only figuring out why, it's how can we show her that like genuinely, like, this is not for the benefit of the girl, especially if the girl does not want to go through it, right? Because there are some girls who are like, yeah, we want to, like, we've grown up in this culture, this is what we want to do, that kind of thing. And so leading back to liberalism, it's like the idea of liberalism is that we need to save all of these girls from this FGM, but there are some girls who do want to do it. So are we stopping them from doing what they want to do? Is that what liberalism is? Stopping people from doing what they want to do and making them do what we want them to do? Is that the idea of liberalism? I don't think that's what it's supposed to be. And again, I chose FGM because it's like a Kenyan thing, blah blah blah. But there's so many other things that we can look at in the same perspective, where it's like, for example, right now there's this whole movement of people being like, oh, don't believe in God, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, now we want to mock people that believe in God. Is liberalism the idea of mocking people for doing what they want to do? Like, is that what liberalism is teaching you? If that's what it has taught you, I don't think you're on the right track. I think you need to like backtrack and realize that we're all living in this world and we're all free to do exactly what we want to do, whether it is to believe in God or to, whatever it is. Basically, that's my point. Don't want to talk too much, but yeah. So know when to confront. I really went on a tangent, but that was the point, knowing when to confront. And the whole compassion thing is like understanding where they're coming from, things like that, like talking about them and things like that. So that was the fourth point. The fifth point is turning to Jesus. We'll always come back to Jesus. Like, that's something that's very important, faith and things like that, like turning to Jesus. So yeah, this part, I think I've talked about this before though. There's a verse in the Bible where Jesus is basically being asked, like, are all these people going to like get through the narrow door or whatever it is? Oh no, I think Jesus is the one who's saying it. Let me backtrack that, guys. Chill. So the fifth point is turning to Jesus. Now, here basically, like, it's the idea of like, is it only a few people that are supposed to be saved, right? And if we go back to the Bible, Jesus used to hang out with the tax collectors and all these people, and he was really judged for it. Like, why is he hanging out with the sinners and stuff like that? But I think something that Jesus made absolutely clear was that he came to save the people that needed saving. He didn't come to save the righteous. And something that, now this leads me to thinking about the idea of there's this story of the shepherd who basically like has like 100 lamb, 100 of them. One gets lost and he leaves them there, and he basically like goes to look for the one. When he finds that one, he throws a whole banquet and he's so happy and things like that. And this also leads to the story of the prodigal son, which again is this son who was like, I want my inheritance, let me go. And he goes, he does his thing, he realizes life is too tough, he comes back and his dad throws an entire banquet. And his older brother is like, or younger, whatever, his brother is like, I've been here with you and I feel, and like, you've never thrown a party for me. And yet this guy who's literally like the prodigal son disappears and comes back, and you're here like acting like he's the best, he's the king, blah blah blah. And so just like these are all like stories told by Jesus, right? Just talking about God's love and things like that, and realizing that God did come to save everybody that needed saving, right? Us righteous people, because I feel like sometimes when we have faith and we're on this really, really high pedestal where it's like, I am the best, I know what's happening, things like that. And let me tell you, you become a leader and it's even worse, where it's like you think you know everything. And the point is like you have to realize that our job here is to help save all of these people, not from a place of like being on a high horse, but from a place of like, God loves this person oh so much that you have to love this person the exact same way. And learning to love this person the same way is so difficult. I can tell you for free, like, I have had experiences where my parents literally, like, they do so many things that, of course, like, we're not for them. We have shown that we're not for them, whatever it is. But something that I've really, really had to like check myself so much this year is that I am working on my faith so much, but my capacity to love is so limited. So am I really benefiting from this working on my faith type thing? You know, because it's like when you are working on your faith, you should be trying to get closer to God, to be like God, things like that. And God's capacity to love is so great. If you think about the sins you've committed, the bad things you've done, all of those things, and God still loves you, you should be able to give someone the exact same grace, even if you don't like them, even if they're not your cup of tea, whatever it is, even if you didn't choose them to be in your life. Sometimes you have to genuinely increase your capacity to love. And that's something I am trying to learn. Trying is the operative word here. I really am trying. Some days are worse than others, because I think, like me personally, I created a habit of selfishness and a habit of not loving and a habit of just wanting things to be done my way. So it is a bad habit that I created, and I have to break that habit. And sometimes it's difficult to break this habit, especially when you're going through your own stuff. But I guess it's something that I'm really, really trying to do, like, constantly every single day. And that's the idea of like creating a habit of increasing your idea of love, increasing that idea of like turning to Jesus and focusing on you getting through that narrow door. What does it mean for you to get through that narrow door? I think for me specifically, it's like increasing my capacity to love. I think that's the idea that Jesus is trying to give us. There's a verse that I saw, and as you can see, I'm not like, I don't master the Bible or anything like that. I'm terrible at mastering anything in general, but I do like keep the things in my head. And so anyway, there's a verse that Jesus actually says like, you need to love your brothers and sisters, or like you need to love others, and that's how they will know that you are of me. Basically, like him basically saying, you love each other and people will know that you're from me because you are loving each other. And so that idea of love is so important. Like everybody talks about love, honestly. Like if you're an educationist watching this video, True Mother talks about it all the time in all of her speeches. Like the idea of love is the greatest thing, you know. So just increasing your capacity to love will help you get through that narrow door. Really, like that's genuinely, in my opinion, that's the bottom line. Increase your capacity to love. All right, so the sixth thing is test prophecy. And here it's he basically, like the author is basically like, the gift of prophecy is given to some people 100%. That's a given, right? But he said that you have to be careful about who you're listening to, because some people think that they're speaking in the name of the Lord. So be careful about the people who say that they're speaking in the name of the Lord. Sometimes they are not. Sometimes it's just, you know, not the vibe, you know. Sometimes they think that they are and then they're not. And so you just need to be careful about that. Then then also be careful about leading people to God, like the people who are leading people to God and things like that. Like that's also that you need to pay attention to. So test prophecy. I think we kind of grow up in this society where asking questions is seen as stupid, is seen as like wrong or whatever it is. And I remember being in high school. Anyone who watches these videos who was with me in high school, I'm so sorry that I was this terrible, but I kind of am just like this. I used to ask so many questions, especially in class. I remember being in math class, and I think even the teacher was irritated. He's like, why are you asking so many questions? But like, I have always been like a very inquisitive person. I ask so many questions all the time, to the point where I have to stop myself, and I'm like, well, sometimes you don't actually need to know that information. You're just being nosy. But yeah, so I ask a lot of questions and things like that. And I've talked about this before, so this is not like a new concept that I'm bringing to this channel. But yeah, if you have questions to ask, test prophecy. If someone says this is what God has said, ask them why, you know, because sometimes it's like we don't want to ask questions. If you ask questions, you're going to be deemed as like unholy and things like that. And you know what, rightfully so, because I understand sometimes being a leader, when you're given an instruction and you're told to like pass it along, and then people start asking, why are we doing this, blah blah, and like sometimes you feel as if the intention is not even to listen or to follow or to be cooperative. The intention is just to be difficult. And so I understand why we've created this culture where asking questions is forbidden, because it's easier for me to give you an instruction and for you to follow without asking me a question than for you to ask me a question and then me have to ask another. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so much easier to do that. But something that I really like to remind myself is like, it's okay to ask questions. It's okay that people are not completely supportive of this particular thing. It's okay that people don't understand this. Like, and when they ask you a question, please like be the kind of person who gives answers. Because I feel like I talk up in this video about trusting and obeying. I talk about how we need to trust and obey our parents. Something that I didn't mention as a child is, parents, please also explain to your children. Like, that's something that is so important to do. Explain when someone asks you a question. Like, it's a really, I mean, it is difficult. No one is taking that away. It's difficult, but you can easily say, I'll get back to you. Like, there's times I've asked my parents questions and they're like, anyway, I don't know the answer to that, but we'll ask and we'll clarify and whatever it is. And I genuinely appreciate that response, because it's like, you're not invalidating my question. Vis-a-vis to other times when I've asked a question, I've been told, you have too many questions, keep quiet. You know, so it's like, I have gone through both situations. And I can tell you for free, it makes more sense to me when you tell me I don't have that answer. Because then I realize, oh, we're all just like learning. And it's okay for you to actually show that you also don't know. Because that's the thing also sometimes, and I've talked about this in that video where I'm like, leadership is hard. Something that I've said is like, sometimes as a leader, you don't have the answers to everything. You are still growing, right? Like, you are a work in progress, and you're forever going to be a work in progress. I don't know where people get off thinking that they're perfect all of a sudden, or people thinking that other people are perfect all of a sudden. Like, if I was imperfect before I was a leader, I'm still imperfect as a leader. Like, it doesn't mean that me becoming a leader led me to perfection. Like, that's not it. It's just that when God calls you to do something, then you do it, kind of thing, you know? So anyway, that's the thing. Like, test prophecy, be okay to test it. And if you're the one prophesying, be okay to respond to people and be loving enough to give people answers. That's it. Just be loving enough to give people answers, please. And then the seventh thing is revering God. And this is through giving. Like, make sure that you are giving so much. I actually have, with a lot of reflection in my life lately, you know, realized that I have not been giving as much as I should be. And again, this is very debatable, but I have been giving quite a bit, doing a lot more than, you know, the average person, basically, doing so much and draining myself so much. Let me tell you something. Before this, I did not know what it felt to be burnt out or to just be feeling low constantly and not knowing what to do about it. I have literally, I think this year I've experienced the lowest of lows that I've experienced in my entire life. And at the same time, I have experienced highs and I've been great, like blessings on blessings. But I also have experienced a lot of lows. And so, and that's mainly not because like there's anything wrong with my life, but because I have been giving so much and still feel like I'm not giving enough, you know. And that's, I don't know why I'm feeling like that, but I do feel like I haven't been giving enough, and I kind of like, I want to give a lot more, and whatever that is, you know. So just remember, that's one of the things that you need to do. Like, revering God is literally like synonymous to giving. Like, if you revere God and you love God and whatever, whenever you get to a point where you love God, God, more often than not, He will instruct you to give. That's the thing. He will genuinely instruct you to give. And there's times I'm actually praying, I'm like, God, I'm so tired. I'm exhausted from listening to you. I'm tired. Because it just feels like every time He's giving me an instruction, it's like, give this, do this, stuff like that. And it's like, friend, who is giving to me? You know, like a lot of times you'll be like, who really is giving to me? And the idea of burnout is because you're not really like doing a lot of stuff that is filling your cup. You're doing more stuff that is draining your cup than filling it. And I noticed that there's a bunch of stuff I've been doing in my life that is literally just like draining the life out of me. And then I was doing very little to give back to myself. And that again is because I'm shifting so much and I'm changing so much that the things that give me joy or whatever it is are also shifting. Lo and behold. So it's kind of like in that place where I think something is filling my cup, but it's really not. If anything, it's just like annoying me. And then I'm just there like, okay, don't know what to do anymore, like stuck in the middle, whatever it is. But yeah, so anyway, my point is, whenever you're listening to God, He is going to tell you to give and give. And that's something that I've noticed is like a constant thing with anybody that I have felt is connected to God. Because at the end of the day, and I don't want to sound judgmental or anything like that, I do think that we get to a place where some things are feeding our soul and some things are just not feeding our soul. Genuinely. And I think for me, I really have gotten to that point. And the reason why I'm not talking about it here and like saying exactly what I'm talking about is because again, as we've talked about, like compassion and all of that stuff, I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be rude. I don't want to be the kind of person who's on this high horse basically saying, I think this, but I don't have a solution. Because I feel like also sometimes when you want to give criticism, but also come up with a solution. You know what I'm saying? Don't be saying those people are not doing enough, but then when you're asked what you'd like them to do, I don't know, I just want them to do more. It's like these people are only like one person, two people, three people, like it's a lot. So you have to genuinely support them, and support means like, you know, helping them. So anyway, I feel like I've gone on so many different tangents in this video, but my point was like, God will ask you to give quite a bit, and at the end of the day, you have to realize that you need to fill your cup as well. And I think for me also, I am learning what that means, like to fill my cup, and what puts me in a better mood, what makes me happier, what basically is like, you know, giving me joy in this moment. It's all shifting, it's all changing, probably will be constantly changing just because of the person that I am. Like I know the way I am, and I change quite a bit. And you know what I realize actually? When I'm doing personality tests, I say, oh, my emotions don't impact my decisions, but I think they actually do. And that's like an answer that I need to start changing, because in the past my emotions did not influence my decisions that much, but now more than ever my emotions do influence my decisions quite a bit. And I mean, it's not a bad thing. It can be a bad thing because emotions are fleeting. You change your mind so fast, and that's why I change my mind so fast. But I think also praying and being with God so much helps me also like make decisions that are not fleeting, you know. But also just giving yourself grace and realizing no one decision is like the end of your life. A lot of the times I feel like in this world, people create that thing where it's like, if you do it like this, then that's the end of your life and you're gonna be dead and whatever that is. Guys, that's not true. You can always backtrack, you know, like you can get to a point where you're like, this is not working the way I want it to, and you can change course. You know, you can always change your course. And sometimes maybe you could have gotten to the place that you needed to be faster if you went like a certain way, but I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily, because we're all on our own journey. So just give yourself a lot of grace, and I hope that these 7 pillars of wisdom will help you live your life a lot better. And this is one of the things that, the reason why I like doing Bible plans, and I like doing short form Bible plans, by the way, guys. That's something that I realized I had already committed to doing the Bible in 1 year, so it's something that I do want to finish. I probably will not be done by like December. That's something that I just had to be okay with. Like, I'm probably not going to be done by December, just because the way my life is set up, honestly might not be able to finish by December, but I will, by the end of 2022 I will be done with that Bible plan. I hope. I really genuinely hope. Anyway, given that it's still gonna be there, you know, I don't even know how these things work, but I feel like also I will have benefited so much from it, because the books that, like, now I am reading, I think we're doing Joshua. Yeah, we're in Joshua, and then also Luke. Yeah, Luke, finishing up Luke before we get to John, and then doing Psalms and Proverbs. And I can tell you for free, a book like Joshua, I probably would have never... Actually, a book like Leviticus, the way that book is structured, if I'm being extremely honest, I don't think I would sit here and be like, let me do Leviticus. As in, yeah, let me tell you guys, I thrive on being honest with myself. And I don't think I would have sat here and been like, yeah, let me just go through Leviticus because I'm in the mood. No. But because of the Bible plan, I kind of had to. Like, I didn't have an option but to go through Leviticus, which literally was the best. Even a book like Deuteronomy as well, and Numbers. Like, I feel like a lot of times the narrative that we're given is like, reading the Bible is this beautiful thing, best thing in the entire world. And I genuinely think it is. Like, I have benefited so much from reading the Bible. You guys, there's things in the Bible that I saw that I was like, I did not actually know that this was like rooted in scripture. That's the thing. It's like, there's so many things we do in the world today, or there's so many things we're told to do that we question. And it's because we don't take the time to read the Bible. So we don't know what's in the Bible. And so we question so much. We're like, oh, where did these people even get it from? Whatever it is. And it's like, yeah, it's in the Bible. So you kind of like know where it's rooted from, and that helps so much with perspective. Also, just realizing that there's so many parallels between the Old Testament and the New Testament. There's so many parallels, which is wonderful and beautiful. And as a unificationist, you've gone through the parallels of history, you know, so you kind of already know that. But it's really nice to just read it from the Bible. Genuinely, highly recommend, guys. Highly recommend. But yeah, so reading the Bible, like, I think for me, I'm realizing that my idea of like what success is and what actually like benefiting from something is, it's not like getting to the end or what is at the end, like reading a book. Like, the benefit of reading a book is not the ending, it's like the whole story. It's the entire like story, and like just how you got from point A to point B. That middle part, that is the beauty of it. So applying that same like thought process to the Bible plan in 1 year, I would say that the benefits for me for reading this Bible plan, first of all, it would have been great to finish the Bible by the end of 2021. And honestly, I'm really working on my discipline, because as I said, I think I've talked about this in another video, my discipline has been dwindling, and it's terrible, because a lot of times discipline is what carries us rather than emotions and how we're feeling. Discipline is what makes us successful, and it's just what gets us through. Discipline. And because I've been struggling so much with discipline, getting to the end of that Bible by the end of 2021 is just not a realistic goal, considering all the other things I'm doing in my life. That's the thing. It's like, considering everything else that I'm doing, it's not realistic to say that I'm, from now where I am, I'm going to be able to finish the Bible in December. That's not realistic. But what is realistic for me right now is recognizing that reading that Bible, like doing that Bible plan, has really genuinely benefited my heart, my soul. Like, I have learned so much. I have been so revived, so refreshed, so just, I'm in a different mindset, guys. I'm in a different mindset completely, having read the Bible plan in 1 year, if I'm being extremely honest. So that's the idea of a like success shifting in my mind. Like, you enjoyed this video, guys. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Remember to comment what your favorite part was. Which part of this 7 pillars of wisdom do you agree with, and which part don't you agree with? I kind of like to know what different perspectives are, because I'm only one perspective. It's very nice to have different ones. I feel like there's so many things that we can learn from each other, so I'm very excited to hear your opinion, as well as, yeah, stuff like that. I'm so excited to do more faith-based videos, because it definitely is something I'm genuinely enjoying, and I don't want to lose that aspect. But something I am learning as well is like, I don't have to be happy and peppy and things like that for me to actually like do what I need to do, and like to fulfill my purpose. Does that make sense? So this is me trying discipline over emotions, guys, and I'm so excited, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.